Well, what is up, Wake fam? Aubrey here. So glad that you're here. Maybe you're joining us on Facebook. Maybe you're joining us on YouTube. Maybe you're at a watch party watching with some friends. Or maybe you just ran across this and you're like, hey, I'm going to check that out. However it is that you got here today, we are so thankful that you are here with us. And those of you, I want to say thank you to those of you that came to our Wake in Person. We had our Wake in Person last week. It was awesome, just an awesome time of worship. We've got another one, as you heard, coming up October 25th. We would love for you to be there. Well, you remember that song, The Wheels on the Bus Go round and round, round and round, round and round. The wheels on the bus go round and round all through the town. You remember that song? Today I've got a message that I think is going to encourage you, is going to challenge you, but I think it's a message that we need to hear. And the title of this message is, Are You on the Right Bus? That's right. Are you on the right bus? Now you're like, Aubrey, what in the world are you talking about? Well, since March really has just been crazy. And I think now we're kind of at a place where we're realizing that some of these things aren't just going to go back to the way they were, that there are pieces of our life and pieces of our world that are changed forever. And I remember I preached a message, I think it was back in March, and I said, crisis does two things. It brings opportunity. And there have been many opportunities that many people in our church, some businesses are actually thriving like crazy because they've seized opportunities that this crisis has brought. But also another thing that crisis brings is a lot of change. And for many, this whole COVID situation, the pandemic, the quarantine, the shutdown in our lives has been a realization of areas of our lives where we're just not on the right bus. That we're like, maybe this needed to change anyways, or maybe this needs to change, or maybe you're in that position now where things are starting to go back to the way they were, and there's some things in your life that you're saying, I don't want it to go back. I don't want to hop back on that bus. Maybe it's the family bus where you are spending more time with your family now and you don't want to go back to not seeing your family. Maybe it's the work bus where things look a lot different, or for some of us literally have completely shut down our work bus, or maybe it's the friends bus. Many of you have found out who your true friends are during this pandemic, and that's the question I want to ask you is, are you on the right bus? Because the bus that you're on matters. The bus that you are on matters. A couple weeks ago, we got the opportunity to take a little getaway to Colorado. Now, just to give you context, this was like the first big getaway that my kids had ever been on. I mean, before then it was like their idea of getaway was like, hey, can we go to Tulsa for the weekend? So we were excited. We were going to take them. So we scheduled this trip to Miami. We were supposed to go to Miami, Florida, which we lived there. We wanted to go visit the beach. Well, COVID got pretty bad there. So obviously that trip did not happen. And so we start brainstorming, kind of freaking out a little bit. Like it's getting stressful talking about, well, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Because we had this plan. We knew all the things. And we're like, oh, let's do this and let's do that. And it was getting a little bit stressful around our house because we wanted this first big getaway with the kids to be like this perfect, ideal, you guys know what I'm talking about. Parents out there, you know what I'm talking about. Or young people, single people, you know what I'm talking about. You want this date to be the perfect date. And I think that sometimes we put an unrealistic expectation on the destination. So sometimes maybe we jump on a bus because of the destination and it's an unrealistic expectation. And I think we all do this in journeys on our life. We think that the destination is going to dictate where we end up in life. My son is definitely my son. He's kind of a tech wizard kind of thing. Like he can figure stuff out and be like, and he's doing stuff. The other day he was on an online Zoom with his teacher and the teacher's like, hey, I don't know how he's even doing these things, but can he stop? He's like drawing and she's trying to share the screen. He's kind of a tech wizard. And I remember when I was a kid, like some new technology would come out and I'd be like, Mom, Dad, I have to have this. Oh my gosh. I remember when the iPhone came out, I was like, this is going to change my life. You know, like if I could just have this iPhone. My son is the same way. He's like, Dad, if I could just get this, if I could just get that. And I think a lot of us do that in life, where if we can just get this thing, this destination is going to change my life. Now let's talk about it in the terms that maybe we're living in right now. If I could just get this job or this promotion, then life would be this. Single people, if I could just get this girlfriend or this boyfriend, man, life would just be so much better with this person. If I could just have that, if I could just get my family to this place financially, you know, then everything is going to be different. Everything is going to change. If I could just get this house. And a lot of the times we put an unrealistic expectation on the destination. So we hop on a bus based on the destination. And here's the reality that I've learned is that the iPhone's a great example. Yes, the iPhone changed my life, but it was a novelty for about a week. Come on. You get that job, and what happens? You have this destination in mind, and you step into it, and it is life-changing for a little bit until you see the next destination. See, destination in our life is a moving target. And I think sometimes we put an unrealistic expectation on the destination. So we see a bus that is going this way, and maybe it's that job, and you hop on this bus because based on the destination of where you want to end up. Now, listen, I'm not against goals, okay? I think we should all have goals in our life. And I believe that God will give you clarity on things to pursue, but it's clarity from God is the bus that you should jump on, okay? So we put this unrealistic expectation on it, and the reality is you live your life destination based, you are going to live a chaotic life because destination is a moving target. When you think you got one, there's another one. When you get that one, there's another one. And pretty soon you're just walking in circles, chasing destinations, and then you look at your life and it's not fulfilled. You don't have the relationships that you want because you're putting an unrealistic expectation. And so that's what we were doing in our getaway. And so, I'm learning this. Write this down if you're taking notes, and if you're not, I encourage you to. A good trip is a trip with the right people. A good trip is a trip with the right people. And I'm learning this not just for vacations, but in my life, is that the destination is less important than the people that you're on the journey with. And so I said, honey, let's not put our pressure on ourselves to, have this perfect vacation, blah, blah, blah. Like, let's just ask the kids, what's something you wanted to do? Hart said, well, one thing I want to do, Dad, is I want to climb the mountain that you and Mom climbed in Colorado. So we said, okay. So it was actually a very easy trip because we took the kids to a place that we went 2 or 3 years ago. So we knew the space and we knew all the stuff, and we weren't freaking out about what to do. We knew some of the stuff that they wanted to do. And you know what? It was incredible. Unbelievable, because I'm realizing and I'm learning, and I hope that we can continue to learn as a spiritual family, is that the destination is not the important thing. That the important thing is the bus that you're on is the right people. And maybe you've been on this trip before, but a great destination can be ruined on the ride there. Come on. We had a phenomenal time with our family, but you're with the wrong people. Those people that are on the bus, that you're on the bus with, and it's like, are we there yet? Where are we going? Did you take the right turn? Can we stop here? I'm hungry. I'm this, I'm that. And like by the time you get to the destination, you're so tired of the person, you're like, listen, just stay, you go do your thing, and I'm going to do my thing. Or maybe you've been on that vacation with the wrong people. And you're doing the fun things, but because of who you're with, it's not fun. Because of who you're with, everybody's faking like they're enjoying it because you're just waiting for the next grenade to be dropped. Or maybe everybody's faking like they're enjoying each other when really everybody's walking on eggshells because you know somebody's about to explode or this person and this person don't really get along. See, a great destination can be ruined on the ride there. And what I'm learning is that the right trip is with the right people. That the destination is not as important. You can go bowling with people, the right people, and it is fun. It can be enjoyable. But sometimes I think when it comes to what bus we're on, we only look at the destination and we think that where this can take me is the answer. But a good trip is a trip with the right people. So are you on the right bus? Not based solely on destination, but the people that you are on the trip with. Now, let me say these statements because I don't want you to take this out of context. Number one, have goals, okay? We should have a goal. We should, in your job, you should have a goal to produce this much. You should have a goal to be promoted. You should have a goal to be a better dad, to be a better mom, to be a better friend, to be a better son, to be a better daughter. Like, have goals, but pursue the goals that God puts in front of you. I think a lot of the times we hop on the right bus because the destination that we see is not clarity from God. It's just something that we want, and we spend our life walking in circles trying to achieve these destinations that God never intended for us. And you can have the definite destinations. You can get the cup. You can get the t-shirt. That's something that my wife and I do. Every time we go somewhere, we buy the Starbucks cup, and we have this whole cabinet full of all the places that we've been. And you can get all that, and that's fine. But if you didn't enjoy it, what's the point? So have goals. And then I want you to hear this, okay? Because I'm about to get real with you, all right? And we're going to talk about a specific bus today that I want to be very real with you. But I want you to hear this, that God will give you clarity if you ask Him. Some of you may be watching right now and you're saying, man, Aubrey, I'm just chasing destination of what I think I'm supposed to go. That's the bus I've hopped on. So I'm trying to get this promotion and I'm spending all my energy with these people that I don't like and neglecting my family to get this promotion. But that's what I thought I was supposed to do because I'm supposed to make more money. Listen, God will give you clarity on the things and the goals and the destination and the bus that He wants you to get on. Because only when we are following God's clarity, only when we are following His call on our life is when we have the grace to get through the tough stuff. If you're just hopping on a bus for the destination and it gets tough and you don't have God's grace on that, it's going to be a bumpy ride. Okay, so I want you to hear that is that wherever you find yourself at the end of this message, God will give you clarity if you ask Him because He loves you and He wants what's best for you. He wants you on the right bus and He's going to give you everything that you need to accomplish the things and be successful and fulfilled in your life, all right? So God will give you clarity. But today I want to look at the bus we are on spiritually, especially when it comes to spiritual family. Or church. You can call it whatever you want. Church should be a spiritual family. So I want to talk about the spiritual family bus. Being a part of a spiritual family or a church is crucial to the believer's life. Listen, there are no Lone Ranger Christians, okay? You need people in your life. You need people to build with. You need people to grow with. And you are on a spiritual bus. For some of you, the spiritual family bus is I'm not on a bus, and you're just standing on the side of the road wondering why I'm not going anywhere because you're not on a bus. Some of you are on a bus, but you're on the wrong bus. Some of you are on the right bus, but you haven't engaged fully yet. And I want to talk about, are you on the right spiritual family bus? I believe, hear this, I believe that God calls us to a spiritual family. I want you to hear that. I believe that there is a spiritual family that God has called you to. You know, this idea of church hopping, and especially if you're in Oklahoma, where we're based out of, I mean, we're in the buckle of the Bible Belt, and everything is about, oh, well, let's check out this church, let's check out this church. And I'm if that's you and you're offended, I'm sorry. Listen to the rest of the message and you'll see where I'm going with this. But I believe that God calls you to a spiritual family. Now, He may call you to a spiritual family for a season. Maybe He calls you to a spiritual family forever, where you are generationally connected to that spiritual family. But I believe He calls us to build and grow with a spiritual family. But I look around and I see a lot of people that are hopping on the bus of spiritual family bus based on the destination, not necessarily the bus that God has called them to. Come on. I mean, I'm just going to be real, and I'll talk a little bit about this later, but a lot of you are on a spiritual family bus because of what that bus where it can take you. And listen, there's tons of great churches, especially if you're in Oklahoma. There are tons of great churches, but God's called you to a spiritual family, and even a sexy destination of another bus. If it's not the right bus that God has called you to, you're with the wrong people, then the destination can be ruined because you're not on the right bus. Okay? I want you to hear this. So I was thinking about this, and this is kind of like a tough message to preach. It's a tough message to preach to challenge people, especially where we live, where choosing a church has nothing to do with God's calling. It's all destination based. It's just like, well, I like this, and I like that, and I like that. And that's not how God has built spiritual family, and you will not see the fulfillment of relationships, of God moving in your life, of dreams coming to pass, of miracles happening in your life if you choose your spiritual family bus based on destination. So I've been praying like, God, how do I communicate this in love? And I kept hearing Gideon. So I was like, okay, fine. I'll go back and read the story of Gideon. Well, in Judges chapter 7, it starts in 6, but in chapter 7 is where I want to pick up. And let me give you some context. Gideon is the guy that says, you mighty warrior, you're mighty man of valor. And Gideon's like hiding in the cave from the Midianites because Israel was being oppressed by the Midianites. And he's hiding, and this angel comes and says, Gideon, mighty man of valor. He's like, me? But that's a whole other message. So the angel says to Gideon, he says, listen, I've called you to save Israel. This is what you're going to do. You're going to save Israel. So you fast forward a little bit, and Gideon is still not sure the whole time, but God gathers 32,000 men around Gideon, this giant army, to save Israel and set them free from their oppressors. Okay, so that's where we're at. We're Gideon with 32,000 guys. And then chapter 7 kicks in. I want to read you this. It's in Judges chapter 7, verses 1 through 3. It says, early in the morning, Jerubbaal, or that is Gideon, and all his men, the 32,000, camped at the spring of Harod. The camp of Midian was north of them in the valley near the hill of Moreh. The Lord said to Gideon, so that they're camped out, like they're getting ready to battle, okay? And God's called Gideon to save Israel, and he's brought this army. And then God tells him this in the morning. He says, you have too many men. I cannot deliver Midian into their hands, or Israel would boast against me. My own strength has saved me. Now announce to the army, anyone who trembles with fear may turn back and leave Mount Gilead. So 22,000 men left while 10,000 remained. Now, can you imagine this? Gideon's like, he's doubting the whole time, like, me, mighty man of valor, what? And then he gets this big army, and then God says, you've got too many people. Go tell them, hey, if you're scared, just go home, okay? If you're scared, just go home. And so I put myself in Gideon's shoes here, and I'm like, okay, God, hey, listen, guys. And you're looking at this army who's gathered and their weapons and blah. I picture like William Wallace, like freedom, whatever. And so Gideon says, hey, if you're scared, go home. And the Bible says that 22,000 of them left. More than half of those people who were on Gideon's bus, based on a good cause, walked away. So of these 32,000 people that gathered to save Israel, which is a great cause, by the way, to save Israel are gathered. And Gideon comes up and says, if you're scared, go home. And 22,000 of them leave. Come on. Now, I want us to see this is that saving Israel was a good cause. And I think that some of us may choose our spiritual family based on a good cause, based on I like this vision, or based on this is a good thing. But just because it's a good thing doesn't mean that you're on the right bus. In fact, I would say it this way. You can write this down. The right spiritual family bus is not a vision you agree with. It is a place that God calls you to build and grow. See, just because you say, yeah, save Israel, let's do it, doesn't mean that you're on the right bus. Just because you say, love God, love people, impact the community, I love that, doesn't mean that you're on the right bus. Now, I'm not saying that to be mean, obviously. I don't want anybody to be on the wrong bus. But just because you agree with the vision or agree with a good cause doesn't mean that's the bus that you're supposed to be on. Now, I want to caution you here, because a lot of Christians leave because they disagree. I'm saying here that the right spiritual bus is not a vision that you agree with. I don't mean that everything is happy. Do not confuse. Giant caution tape. Big caution, caution. Do not confuse comfort with calling. God may call you to be on a bus that you are supposed to be with those people, and it may not be comfortable. So don't look at this as like feel good. Well, I don't like the way he said that, or I don't like they did this song, or they stopped doing this, or they stopped doing that. Listen, that's all destination based. Okay? People leave churches all the time for destination based reasons. And I don't want you to confuse your comfort with where God has called you. Just because you're on a bus, let's look at it this way. All of us have a family. Some of us are close, some of us aren't. Some of our families are split up, some of them are still together. Wherever your family is at, or however your family is functioning or dysfunctioning, every family fights. And the ones that are together are usually the ones that can communicate through a fight. Who can say, I'm going to put my comfort aside because you're my family and I love you. I would say the same thing about a spiritual family bus, is that it's not about comfort. It's about calling, that this is where God has called me to build. This is where God has called my family to grow. And let me put it this way, building is work. Everybody wants the house already built. But what about the ones who have to build the house? Growth is uncomfortable. Last time I checked, growth is usually making a mistake or a tough conversation or somebody telling you the truth. It's uncomfortable. So if God has called you not just to agree with a vision, but a place that you can build and grow, don't confuse your comfort with that calling. Okay? That's just a side note there. So somebody who is called somewhere is asking the question, how can I help build and in turn grow? It's not destination based, it's people based. The right trip is the trip with the right people. When you are on the bus with the right people, there's growth, it's family. It's not always comfortable, but you're building and you're growing together instead of sitting on the bus. Oh, don't talk to them. Don't talk to them. Just waiting to get to the destination. And then you get to one destination and it's off to the next one. And you spend your entire life on a bus, quiet, never building relationships or growing because you're just waiting for the destination. Okay, I think you get it, all right? So somebody that is called somewhere is asking a question, how can I help build and in turn grow? You can like and even love the cause or vision, yet still be on the wrong bus, because just like Gideon's army, it's about the right people, not where the bus is headed. All right, so let's keep going in the story. So 32,000 men, 22,000 of them leave, 10,000 left. Let's pick up in Judges 7, verse 4. It says, but the Lord said to Gideon, there's still too many men. Take them down to the water, and I will thin them out for you there. If I say this one shall go with you, he shall go. But if I say this one shall not go with you, he shall not go. So Gideon takes them down to the water. And then let's watch this. So Gideon took the men down to the water. There the Lord told him, Separate those who lap the water with their tongues as a dog laps from those who kneel down to drink. 300 of them drank from cupped hands, lapping like dogs, and all the rest got down on their knees to drink. And so I'm like, if you keep reading in the story, out of the 10,000, only 300 of them did what he said. So God says, hey, separate those who lap the water with their tongues versus those who kneel down to the drink. So take those that scoop up the water and drink it like that versus those that get on their hands and knees and just go after the water. And the ones who stay on their feet, keep those. You know how many there were? 300 out of 10,000. 300 out of 10,000. Now, put yourself in the situation, though, because they're camped out somewhere. Water was a commodity. They didn't have faucets where they just turn it on. It was like when you saw water, get you some water. And so I'm reading this and I'm like, okay, God, what does this even mean? And as I was praying, this is kind of what I felt, is that the ones that drank from their hands, the drink from their hands people, there was a respect. There was a respect of cupping the water and bringing it to them. There was a respect there. I could see them enjoying the moment like, this is awesome water. We needed water. We're thirsty. I see them enjoying each other. And there's just this camaraderie that in respect happening for what is God has called them to do. They're thankful for the water versus the ones that kneel down. And I'm just going to do this. I picture it like this. They just kneel down there like, I mean, just savage, sticking their faces in, splashing their neighbor. There's no respect for it. Come on. And the ones that didn't have respect, the ones who didn't have respect for the water or for the vision, and the ones that didn't have respect for the people around them that were just making a mess, splashing around, unaware of anything that's going on because it's me, give me my water, versus the ones who said, I mean, I could even picture them sharing with each other. Say, man, this is awesome. Can you believe we're doing this? Okay. I believe that the ones that are on their knees are a picture of someone choosing a spiritual bus based on destination. Remember, the ones who are on the right bus are saying, how can I help build and in turn grow? But I feel like this picture and why God told Gideon to get rid of the ones that get down on their knees and just splash and it's me, give it to me. No respect for where you've brought them. Because it was all about me. And they're saying, what can you do for me? What can you do for me? And so I would say, which group are you in? Do you have respect for the vision? Are you enjoying each other? Are you aware of the people around you? Or are you just picking a spiritual bus, getting down on your knees and saying, what can you do for me? What can you do for me? It's not about the other people or what you can build and what you can grow. It's me. Do you offer this for kids? Do you do this? Do you do this? Now listen, I'm just going to be, I love kids ministry. I love student ministry. I love good music. I love all of it. I'm with you. But I believe that God calls you somewhere to build and grow. So when it says kids ministry, well, can you do this for my kids? There's really three options there, okay? I'm going to read this to you so you hear it. But if God has called you to be on a bus that doesn't have what you think it should have, okay? And so you're saying a lot of us are just me, what can you give me? Splashing around, unaware of anything that's going on. We're not looking to build and grow. We just want me, consume. Well, I want this for my kids. Well, I want this worship. Well, I like these seats. They're more comfortable. And we're just, listen, if you come to a place where you feel like God's called you on a bus that doesn't have what you think it should have, there are three options here. You're on the wrong bus. You are the one to build what you're looking for. Or God is teaching you something you wouldn't learn by getting what you want. You see the difference? You see the difference? And sadly, a lot of us are choosing the spiritual family bus that we're on because of stuff like that. And I love all this stuff. Don't get me wrong, okay? I'm 100% for it. And I love all these ministries and I think we should be excellent. I love it, but God calls you to a spiritual family. And some of us are bailing on the bus we're supposed to be on, or we're staying on a bus we're not supposed to be on based on the destination, based on what can you do for me? And we're sitting there just being savage on our knees, consume, 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 when God has called you to be on a bus where you can build, where you can grow, where you can enjoy each other. I told you I was going to be real with you, okay? So, let me wrap this up for you. Crisis brings change and maybe has opened your eyes to some of the buses that you need to hop on or you need to hop off. I'm just going to be very real with you and hear my heart. I love you, and I say this with pure love. I feel like God has instructed me to do two things. Release the ones on the wrong bus and to bring in the ones on the right bus. Hear me, okay? And again, this is all love, because if you are on the wrong bus, maybe you agree with the vision, maybe you love what we're doing, maybe you love me, my family, our leaders, maybe you love all that, but if God hasn't called you here, listen, if you're on the wrong bus, I'm releasing you to find the right bus. Because your family, your life can never be what God wants it to be if you're on the wrong bus. All right? And so I really do mean that with love. Obviously, I want everybody to be on our bus. Clearly, you know? But if you're on the wrong bus, you can't be who God's called you to be. You can't build and grow. If you are on the wrong bus, if you're on the Wake Church bus and you're not supposed to be on the Wake Church bus, there is another spiritual family that is suffering because you're not there. Okay? So I feel like God's kind of told me, like, release the ones that aren't on the right bus. And there may be none of you. I don't know. I'm just telling you, this is what's happening with me, what happened with Gideon. Some of you have been on the right bus for a season, but that season has changed. Your family will only grow and build when you get on the right bus. So I feel like God's instructed me to release the ones on the wrong bus and to bring in the ones on the right bus. And you're saying, Aubrey, how do I know if I'm on the right bus? If the changes we've made excite you, if you're like, man, this is awesome. If you just love the people and you're just glad to be on the ride, like a great trip is not the ones that are we there yet? Where are we going? Are you taking the right directions? A great trip is the people who are just happy to be on the trip. They're not necessarily like, oh, well, I want to go here or I want to go here. It's like, we could go bowling. It doesn't matter what we do. We just love each other. If that's you, man, then you are on the right bus. So let me get very practical and then I'm going to close this up. Wherever you find yourself in this, here's my advice for you, okay? If you are on the wrong bus or you're not sure that this is the right bus for you, have you ever heard a pastor say this? And I'm saying it in love. I really am. Here's what I want you to do. Write this down. I want you to ask God for clarity for the right bus. Remember, God has called all of us to a spiritual family. And so if you're saying, I'm not sure, or you're saying, well, maybe this is the right bus, maybe it's not, or maybe you're the person who's just uncomfortable right now, but really this is where God has called you to be, and you need to get clarity of that calling. Here's what I ask God for: clarity of the right bus, okay? The second thing I would say is caution, because the right bus doesn't always feel good. Don't confuse comfort for calling, okay? And here's the other thing I would say. Do not just jump off the bus, okay? Don't just jump off the bus. Get clarity. Because the last thing that I want you to do is be somebody on the side of the road, not connected to any spiritual family, and then you're like, why am I not going anywhere in my life? And I fear that's where a lot of people are right now with COVID. Services shut down, and we were destination based on the spiritual family bus that we were on. So when the destination stopped, spiritually our families went. The churches that are thriving right now are the ones that people were on the bus for the right reasons. God's called them there. They were relationship based. It wasn't all just a Sunday morning, okay? And maybe you're feeling some of that right now. Just ask God for clarity on the right bus. Now, maybe you're a person that you're like, Aubrey, you've just freed me up, man. This is something my family and I have been praying about. Listen, I bless you. I love you. I will literally help you find the bus that is right for you, because we love your family that much, and we love you enough to help you find the right bus if this is not the bus. I believe this is the greatest church around, but I also realize that it's not the church for everybody. And so, listen, we love you. We release you to be who God has called you to be. Maybe you're sitting here and you're listening to this and you're saying, man, I'm on the right bus. Like, this is it. This is my bus. I've known it, and now I know it more than ever before. Like, I love this. Let's go. Maybe that's you. Here's what I would encourage you to do. Engage like never before. Okay? Serve. Give. Begin to build the church in any way that you can. Serve at our Wake in persons. We're going to start building volunteer teams out for Wake Online, okay? So there's all these things in the works that I'm not going to tell you all right now, but I want you to engage like you've never engaged before. And here's the other thing I want you to do. I want you to build relationships like you've never built relationships before. Host a watch party. Don't watch. This is something that I challenge myself with. Don't watch online alone. Because the bus isn't about the destination. The bus is about the people you're with. And so when I watch online, I'm like, I want to watch with people. And so host a watch party. We'll be giving you more information about that. Be at the in-person. Don't miss opportunities like that with our in-persons. Go eat with people. Reach out to people that you love or you miss. Like, engage like you've never engaged before. Because the destination was never the point. The right trip is the right people that God has called you to be with. So build relationships like you've never built before. I believe that God has instructed me to release the ones that are on the wrong bus and bring in the ones that are on the right bus. And maybe you are like, yes, I am on the right bus. October 18th at 5:30 p.m., we'll be pushing out all those details on social media. But if you're like, yes, this is my bus, we're going to get together October 18th, 5:30 p.m., and we're going to talk about some of the there's those exciting things happening here at Wake Church. And we want to let you know about those things and give you the opportunity to be a part of that. So mark your calendar. You'll see more of that. I hope this message has helped. I told you it was going to be a tough one. Listen, we love you. Whether you're in Oklahoma, whether you're in Kansas, California, Florida, wherever it is that you're watching, that's one of the exciting things, is that God is calling people on this bus that aren't even in Oklahoma. And I believe that Love God, Love People, Impact the Community has expanded beyond Norman and its surrounding communities. Right where you're watching right now, God is calling you on this bus to see your community impacted. And that's exciting to me. And so I hope this helped you. Listen, if you know somebody that this would help, I'd love for you to share this message. Go back, listen again. And thank you again for being here with us. Let me pray with you and then we'll dismiss. Father, I thank you for this message, God. I thank you for these great people, Father. Lord, for what you're doing through Wake Church, what you're doing in your church as a whole, not just Wake Church, Father. Lord, we pray blessings on all of the spiritual families, Father. We pray that the other spiritual families, not just Wake Church, but other churches, Father, that they would have the right people on the bus, that they would have everything that they need to build and to grow and to be what you've called them to be, Father. I pray that you would give us, listening and watching this right now, Father, clarity on the buses that we're supposed to be on and the buses that we need to hop on or hop off of, God. And as you give us clarity, that we would go full bore, holding nothing back, into the buses that you've called us to build and grow in, Father. We love you. We praise you. It's in your mighty name. Amen. Well, hey, we're going to dismiss with our vision, which is love God, love people, and impact the community. Wherever you're at, I want to hear you say it loud and proud. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Love God, love people, and impact the community. Hey, I love you. We'll see you later.